Alright, so at this point, I have been playing Mario Tennis Aces for about 2 weeks. It might end up being a little longer than 2 weeks by the time I get this video completed, edited, uploaded, all that fun stuff you have to do when you make a YouTube video. But anyways, my Switch logs register all that time as 5 hours. I really feel like I've played closer to 10 or 15 hours, but my Switch is like, nope, you've only played 5 hours, so I guess I've only played 5 hours. But I just wanted to take some time, now that I've played the game for, well, a while, to go ahead and give you my kind of thoughts and impressions on the game, and kind of impressions that it's left on me, and blah, 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 after about 2 weeks and 5 hours of gameplay. And no, that doesn't mean 2 weeks plus 5 hours. I was not playing the game for 2 weeks straight, don't worry. That means 5 hours racked up in accumulation over the course of 2 weeks. And so I want to talk about each individual mode separately a bit. But before we do that, I just want to compliment this game's graphical style. The graphical style is absolutely amazing. It is, of course, in HD, which looks awesome anyway. It looks better than half the other Mario Sports games, because other than Ultra Smash on the Wii U, all the other Mario Tennis games are in not HD. They're kind of standard definition or lower. So it looks really nice in HD. But where Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on the Wii U, it looked good in HD. But somehow this takes it to the next level. I think a lot of it has to do with the main court in the game, where you play at nighttime and there's neon lights and things like that going on. There just seems to be a lot more going on in this game, and somehow the graphic style just looks a lot more polished to go with that. I'm not really sure. You kind of have to watch it and play for yourself to really understand what I'm saying, or you can watch the gameplay as we go through this video, but somehow the graphical style just looks really polished and really awesome looking, and it's cool that they were able to pull this off using the Switch. This looks like something that would be more on the level of like a somewhere between the Switch and like a PlayStation 4, somewhere in between there. It's not quite PS4 or Xbox One level, but like a little bit above Switch level. So it's awesome they were able to get this to pull off on the Switch. You can really tell how well the game's optimized, because you never really have frame rate drops or anything like that. But I don't know, the colors just really, really pop, and the textures are well done. Maybe they were able to get away with a bit more since they had less room to work with. You're not dealing with having to render the graphics for a large area like you would in like Mario Kart, especially Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild. A lot of games would require you to render graphics in a very large space, but this, you're just having to render the graphics in a single tennis court. So maybe they had a bit more power to work with. But I don't know. I've been blabbing about the the power for way too long, or the graphics for way too long. I just think it's a really colorful and honestly a beautiful looking game, no matter which way you put it. So you can go ahead and enjoy all that as I go through talking about this video. So here I'm just going to go through all the modes of the game and kind of get my thoughts on each one individually. And we are starting with Adventure Mode, and that's basically like, it's basically like a single player mode of the game, if you will. It's a really good single player mode, I would say, for the most part. I think I'm kind of going off what's just the top of my head here. I'm not really scripting this video beforehand. My thoughts will be a bit more authentic if I just let myself speak rather than try to script something beforehand. But with Adventure Mode, it does a great job with teaching you the main mechanics of the game. We'll put it that way. That's basically, in a game like this that's mostly focused on multiplayer aspects, the single player mode really serves to first introduce you to the game concepts and get you to master them, and then once you're done with the single player mode, then that would be typically when you move into the multiplayer, once you've gotten the hang of all the stuff from the single player mode that exists. But basically, I think this does a really good job of forcing you to learn the mechanics of the game. It has little tutorials that kind of teach you how to do certain things toward the beginning, and then as you keep going, it gets the tutorials away pretty quickly, which is awesome. The first like world or two, and the worlds are really short in this game, by the way. There's only 5 of them, and but the first 2 in specific are very, very quick in the way that you complete them, especially the first one. First world is basically just tutorials, and I don't want to spoil too much of the story for you, so I'm not going to mention anything specific. But yeah, it seems like the tutorials are over pretty fast, and then you're on your own, which is good because I hate games where it just keeps hammering you with tutorials, and it kind of forces you to figure stuff out on your own a bit. It's explained all the main mechanics for you, but it forces you to figure out how to use them the best you can. If you get exactly what I'm saying there, I know I'm being a bit confusing and broad in general, but basically, it seems like every single level focuses on a different thing, but it doesn't tell you what that thing is. So one level might require you to use a lot of zone shots. It doesn't necessarily explicitly say that, but you're not really going to be able to beat it unless you use a lot of zone shots. I think that's great. It really forces you to use specific abilities or shots a lot, and you really get used to using those specific ones. And so, yes, I can definitely say that the single player mode, the adventure mode is what they call it, really did do a good job of teaching you the game mechanics. I'm actually not finished with it yet. I'm not even on the last world yet, actually. I'm like on the third to last world. Um, but anyway, I did a great job of teaching me the main game mechanics, how to using different kinds of shots and energy management and different things like that. I feel like I have a much better grasp on that kind of stuff now than I did back when I played the online tournament demo. So it really does work in that regard. But what I think that it really lacks in is teaching you how to use certain characters. As I mentioned in just a second ago, I feel like a single player mode in a multiplayer game like this needs to teach you all of the game mechanics and basically let you perfect your own strategies before heading into multiplayer. And this is a game where it's not like every character you just pick a character to, um, you know, just pick a character. Every character plays very, very, very differently. It's not like a Mario Kart situation where they kind of play differently, but for the most part everyone's the same. It's more of a Super Smash Bros. Situation where whatever character you pick is a completely different like moveset. Like everything is different about every character you use. I don't think there are a single two characters in this whole game that feel at all the same. Every character I pick up to use in this game in the online tournament mode, because that's really all I've played, where you can select multiple characters, all the characters feel very, very different. There's not a single two that are alike. And in the adventure mode, you only play as Mario, which I find kind of obnoxious, if you will, because I feel like it needs to teach you the game mechanics, and it needs to teach you how to best like go about playing the game. I know I'm just kind of repeating myself here, but if you're only using Mario, I feel like that's not allowing you to get a grasp of the gameplay mechanics 100%. You're getting really, really good at using Mario, but you're not really getting good at using really any of the other characters. So I really, with the scenario they have set up in the adventure mode, which I'm not going to go into depth on that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't played the game yet, but the scenario they set up in the adventure mode, only Mario is involved, and there's really no way they can get multiple characters involved with the story that they've set up there. But I really wish that they had set up a completely different story where you'd be switching off between different characters as you moved through, whether that would be voluntary or forced. It would have to be forced some, because I feel like it should force you to get used to using different characters. And then that way, you could get used to using different characters before you play through the whole adventure mode as Mario. Then you go into the free play modes and online tournament modes and stuff, and you're just all of a sudden like, there are other characters other than Mario? This is awesome. And then you're like, oh, they all play completely differently, and I have no idea how to work any of them because I've just been playing as Mario for the past 15 hours trying to beat the adventure mode. Now, I'll say for like the third time now that I am not going to go into depth on the scenario of the story mode because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't like become acclimated with it yet. I mean, there's not that much to spoil, but still, I'm not that kind of person. But what I do want to say is it kind of feels a little bland, the situation. Near the beginning, it's really good. They have a really cool cutscene at the beginning that kind of gets you excited for the adventure mode. Like, it's an exciting cutscene. It makes me like, this is going to be an awesome adventure mode. And then after that, there's some more storytelling elements that again make you think it's going to be an awesome adventure mode. And then you realize that it's literally it's kind of not cheap, but it seems like they set it up so that they didn't have to do very much work. They do all that stuff at the beginning, and then you're just basically going to 5 worlds to collect 5 different items, and then you're done. Like, it feels very, very lazy once you get to that point and realize, wow, they just set it up like that, but that's where the effort in the storytelling stops. Now we're just going to different worlds and collecting 5 different items that don't do anything for us whatsoever other than let us beat the adventure mode. So honestly, it starts out really good, but then it just feels just plain lazy after you get into it a little while. And you know, when you go into every battle, there's a little cutscene that plays out. Not cutscene, but a little thing that plays out where Mario's having like a dialogue conversation with another character um, that basically starts the battle. And at first, I thought that was pretty darn cool. But after a while, that also started to seem kind of bland and boring because every time that a battle would start, it would always be like something very, very simple. Like it'd be like, I'm going to give a few real examples from the game, so if you don't want spoilers, cover your ears. Donkey Kong goes, "Oh, the forest is dangerous. You shouldn't go in there, Mario, because it's dangerous. But if you beat me in a tennis match, I'll let you go in the forest." Like, just think on that for a second. Does that even start to make any sense? If you beat me in a tennis match, you can go in the dangerous place, but I'm not going to let you go in the dangerous place unless you beat me in a tennis match. It's like every single situation you get into is just, I'm not going to let you do this unless you beat me in a tennis match. Either that, or it's just some like Koopa Troopa, something that's like, I bet you can't smash that many targets. And then Toad's like, Mario, we should smash that many targets. Like, the dialogue starts to feel really uninspired after a while because it's literally what I just said. It's just kind of, hey, we should have a tennis match, which I mean, I guess we should give them a break because what else are they going to do in a Mario tennis game other than have you do tennis matches? But it still feels pretty uninspired after a while when there's and kind of annoying and obnoxious that it just takes time to go through all the dialogue that's basically the same. I'm not going to let you pass me unless you play me in tennis over and over and over again. And like I said, it's a kind of uninspired and lazy story setup to begin with. So, I mean, nah. That all being said, I am in no way trying to bash the adventure mode of this game, because I do very much enjoy it. There are some games that truly bore me, and it's one of those situations you just stop playing the game. But this adventure mode, as obnoxious as some aspects of it that I just spoke of are, the adventure mode and all was able to captivate me and draw me in and convince me that I should keep playing it, and I really don't get bored while I'm playing it. If that tells you something right there. If it was a truly bad adventure mode, I would be bored and I would stop playing it. But I am not bored. I'm definitely entertained, and I'm definitely still playing it. So it's in no way a bad adventure mode. But since this is kind of a review type thing, I thought I would get real critical on those types of things. But overall, it's really fun. Each battle is kind of unique, like I said. Each one's forcing you to kind of learn a different special ability or kind of shot or something. And there's a lot of like the different courts offer a lot of variety. Like you got the pole in the middle of the ship course that the balls bounce off of. There are piranha plants that spit balls back at you. There are shy guys running across the court. There's all sorts of crazy stuff like that that happens that to just shake up the gameplay variety. And of course, there are different challenges, such as having to hit things at ish and hit targets and different things like that. Um, yeah, it just keeps the gameplay variety up a little bit, so you're not just playing tennis the entire adventure mode, which I do appreciate. Um, I appreciate that quite a bit. And overall, I do enjoy the story mode, even if I am kind of bashing it a little bit. I still think it's great, and I think that if any of you guys pick up this game, you're probably gonna enjoy the adventure mode, even if you have the same complaints that I did, because I still enjoy it anyways. I just wanted to get kind of critical with it to kind of, give my full, like, expressive thoughts there. So to kind of wrap up talking about adventure mode, It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. It is playable completely 100%, and it is 100% enjoyable. However, it is in no way perfect, and there are a lot of things that could have been improved, and overall sometimes feels a bit like not much effort was put into this. You kind of get that feeling when you're playing, but it's still an enjoyable experience, fun and captivating, and all in all you really need a game to do is entertain you. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, and this is in no way a masterpiece. But as I just said, it doesn't have to be. As long as it's fun and enjoyable, which it is, that's all plain and good. Next mode we got to talk about is we got to talk about tournament mode, and this mode is absolutely awesome. To give you an idea, when I first heard about this game, I thought it sounded pretty cool, but there was no way I was going to spend $60 on it, at least when there were so many other good Switch games out. However, they had the online tournament demo back in the beginning of June, and in case you guys forgot about that, that was basically where just for that weekend they let you play the online tournament mode for free, of course, with a special download from the eShop. You could download the app thingy for free and play through the online tournament just for that weekend. And I absolutely loved it, even though I sucked at it that particular weekend. I've gotten a lot better at it since, but I sucked at it that weekend, but I still loved it. And afterward, it was enough to convince me afterward that it probably was worth a $60 purchase. I ended up getting it for my birthday. I actually did not purchase it, but hey, it convinced me that this was a game that I wanted and not just another one to go on the backlist of Switch games to have at some point. If you know exactly what I mean by that. And so, what is so awesome about this tournament mode? My answer to that is I have actually no idea. It's not that much different than other online modes that exist in games. But basically, there's a different tournament, quote tournament, every month, and it's not really a huge tournament much as it is just rack up points, and whoever has the most points wins the tournament for the month. Now, I know someone like me, I go into it and know I'm never going to be on that leaderboard, but it's still fun anyway, and it's set up in a fun way. Basically, there is a tournament bracket, okay, and you start at the bottom of the tournament bracket, and if you win, you can move up the bracket. If you win that first round, you move up the bracket, and as you keep moving up, as you keep winning, you keep moving up the bracket. And if you lose, then you have to start over on a new bracket, and it's kind of nerve wracking because the farther you go up the bracket, it's going to get harder because when you're at the beginning of the bracket, there could be some bad players there. But once you get to like the third ring of the bracket, the player that you're playing has won 3 times in a row as well, just like you have. So it's kind of cool how that's set up where your matches are going to get harder and harder as you kind of go along through the tournament bracket. And I've never actually won a tournament bracket before. I hear it's not that hard to do, just depending on who you get matched up with. But it is awesome that it keeps getting harder as you go and that kind of thing. But other than that whole little tournament bracket kind of unique setup, basically it functions just like a regular online match. You're playing Mario Tennis Aces, a tennis match in Mario Tennis Aces, just like you would in the adventure mode when you're playing tennis matches, and just like you would in free play mode, except you're playing it online against someone else. It's a pretty simple online multiplayer system. And then they're the toads. Yeah, those guys. They're toads that sit in the corners of the screen, and they're like commentator people, like sports announcers, and they're commentating on the match the whole time. And it's kind of obnoxious because when you lose, they're like, "Oh, he tried so hard, but he couldn't make that trick shot," or something like that. And it's honestly kind of infuriating. But you can turn off the Toad commentary if you want, but I personally leave it on just to infuriate myself because I think it's kind of funny how infuriating that experience can truly be. And yeah, so basically, after every wow, if I had to count the number of times I said "will" basically during this video, then I would basically be rich. But anyways, every time you win a tournament, you get a victory bonus amount of points, and then you can get other points for other things you do during the match, and the points will add up. And I think every tier you go through on the bracket, you get more points for winning that tier. And I think there's some kind of huge point bonus for winning a bracket. And those points add up, and that's what's going to put you on a leaderboard or ensure that you'll never be on the leaderboard at the end of the tournament season, which each one's just through the end of the month, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. I forget what I'm trying to say sometimes, but so essentially, um, that's basically it. It's a pretty good online mode. It is at its core. It's just an online multiplayer mode, but it's done in a fun way that like it doesn't just feel like you're being matched against online opponents over and over again. You're actually going through a bracket. You're earning points. You're actually feeling like you're accomplishing something, and you can actually never lose points, and you can even get extra points even if you've lost for doing certain things during the match that would award you with points. So it's not really that ugh, like it doesn't get to you as much as games like Splatoon 2, where if you lose, it knocks your rank meter all the way back, and you feel really bad about it. You don't really feel bad when you lose. You're sometimes it can be aggravating when you're doing really well on your tournament bracket that you're on, and you have to start over on another tournament bracket. But it's really not that all that bad, really. So yeah, that's an online tournament. It at its core, it's just an online multiplayer mode for this game. But don't underestimate it. Was a good way to get acclimated with the game and kind of draw me in, which is why I'm hoping that in the future they're going to have more online tournament demos to play through, demo versions to try and draw people in, because I think they'll be able to sell a lot more copies of the game. Because like I was not going to buy this game, nor was it going to be at the top of my birthday list or Christmas list or anything like that. But after playing the online tournament demo, it really made me want the game, if you know what I mean. So I think they could sell a lot more copies of this game if they had a few more online tournament demos, so more people like myself that maybe missed the first one or didn't play the first one would be able to play another one and get a bit more, get hooked on it, and then they'll buy the game, and they could sell a lot more copies that way. But anyways, that's basically the online tournament mode. There's not as much to talk about here as adventure mode, because it's pretty simple how it's set up, but still very very fun, and I do enjoy it a lot. I do enjoy it a lot more than a traditional online multiplayer mode, and I would much prefer to play through the tournament mode in this game than just play tennis matches online over and over and over again. That's just kind of pointless. But the tournament mode actually gives it like you feel like you're working towards something, if you know what I mean. And then we have free play mode, which I'm not going to talk about because I haven't actually played that at all. I haven't even clicked the free play tab to see what the heck is even contained in there. Like, I'm waiting until I complete adventure mode before I go into free play mode. Because that's the other thing I forgot to mention. You actually unlock in adventure mode. You unlock courts to use in free play mode. So yeah, that I'm waiting to go into free play mode until I beat adventure mode. So that way I'm more acclimated with all the game mechanics, and I feel like I have a better understanding with them. And then I want to be all done with the adventure mode before I'm just free playing on my own. And I'll have all the courts unlocked there when I do go into free play mode there. So that's why I haven't played that yet. Last thing on our little list of modes there is not free play. We just did free play. Is swing mode. Swing mode. It's garbage. So if you're a Nintendo fan, you definitely played Wii Sports at some point, and really, whether you care about video games or not, you have played Wii Sports at some point. If you are a child living in the 21st century in an area wealthy enough that you're watching YouTube videos like this one right here, then I'm sure that you've played Wii Sports at some point. And you've probably played, maybe not all the modes on Wii Sports, but you may have played the Wii Sports Tennis. Wasn't quite as popular as some of the other modes on Wii Sports, but I still very much enjoyed it. Well, the swing mode in Mario Tennis Aces is basically a knockoff of Wii Sports Tennis. The gameplay is pretty much exactly the same as Wii Sports Tennis, except the motion controls with the Joy-Con are a lot more accurate, which you would think would make a better game experience. No, not at all. Wii Sports, it's actually fun because you just swing the racket and you hit the ball. But on the Switch with Mario Tennis Aces, the motion controls on the Joy-Con are so precise that it actually makes it near impossible, and you just kind of want to, go hit your head on the wall instead of continuing to play. So basically, all you need to know about the swing mode is knock off Wii Sports, and it's actually worse than Wii Sports Tennis. So just play the other modes that this game has to offer, and just don't even worry about the fact that swing mode exists. Now that we've discussed all of the game modes specifically on their own, I can kind of give some overarching thoughts on the entirety of the entire package of the game, because you don't sell or you don't talk about your thoughts on the game just on each individual mode. The whole game is a whole package, and so let's talk about the whole package that is Mario Tennis Aces. Now, a lot of people say that there's not much content, and what they mean by that is that the story mode is very, very short, and there's not very much unlockables. Most of the characters are unlocked from the start. The rest of them you either unlock by participating in the tournament, and when I say participating in the tournament, I mean play a match, and you can even hit the home button and just close out right as the match starts, and it's like, congrats, you played tournament, here's a new character. And if you don't play the tournament, then after a month you'll just get the character anyway. So it's kind of pointless. There's not really any way to unlock characters. Now the courts are unlockable, but there's only 5 unlockable courts, but you can unlock them all in adventure mode just by beating each world, which is pretty simple to do. And like I said before, the adventure mode is really, really short, and so that's kind of the complaints people have. But I say there is quite a bit of content here. Just because there's not a lot of unlockables doesn't mean there's not a lot of content. There are a lot of characters in this game, a lot of characters that you can work with and try to master. And trust me, it's going to take a lot of time if you want to master every single one of those characters, because they all play completely differently. And then you've also got the stages if you choose to leave the stage hazards on. That's another thing you can work with. There's 5 different stages that you can play on and try to master how to use those stage hazards to your advantage to disorient your opponent or win against your opponent. And of course there is the adventure mode, and there are a few little side missions, and when I say side missions, I literally mean you walk off the side of the path and there's a side mission on the side. But anyways, there's that. You can complete the side missions if you just rush through the main campaign. The side missions, I can tell you, are a bit harder than just going down the main campaign path. Yeah, that's that. So I guess there's not a ton of content here, especially compared to some other Switch games. When you look at Super Mario Odyssey or The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, those games have ludicrous amounts of content, and maybe we're just spoiled by those amounts of content. If you really look at it, I would say they can have a bit more unlockables here. All the characters are unlocked from the start, basically. They could have had a lot of those characters be unlockable, and they could have had more courts, and you do challenges to unlock them. I understand people's complaint there, but I say it's fine. I say there's plenty of content here to enjoy, not as much as a lot of other Switch games. And yes, I do agree that they could have done unlockables a little better and done some more unlockables available in the game. But I think it is still pretty fine as is, and I enjoy. But everybody's a little bit different as to how much content they want in a game. Personally, I don't play games a lot. I mean, that sounds weird since I have a YouTube channel that's 99% covers Nintendo games, but I do not play video games from sunrise to sunset. I do a lot of other things, and I play video games for maybe about 2 or 3 hours a day, so not an insane amount. So I'm perfectly fine with games like this where there's not as much content, and that way I'm actually able to, beat the game in the 2 or 3 hours a day that I play, rather than something like Breath of the Wild where I by the way, just now got my first Divine Beast, last month, and the game's been out for a year and a half, and I'm a quarter of the way through. That's what happens to me with big games like that, so that's why I don't really mind smaller games. But if all you do is play games, then you might find quite a lack of content in this game. But for me, and for most of the world's population, it's going to be just fine. There is plenty of content here for you to enjoy. And so, yeah, that basically wraps up my thoughts on this game thus far. This isn't my definitive review yet. That's why I'm not really calling it my review of the game. I like to give my thoughts as I continue to go along after playing more of the main story, tournament, free play, things like that. Just as we go along, I'll continue to give my thoughts on this game. And I plan to do this with other games too, basically all my games, instead of giving reviews, which I never really did reviews. But instead of doing reviews, I'm just kind of going to give thoughts as I progress through each game that I play. But yep, so you can expect another video similar to this at some point. I'm giving maybe some different thoughts later on. So you can look forward to that. So be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss that if that's something you'd like to see. And be sure to let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts on this game were. I am happy to read through and respond to those. And leave a like on this video if you want to see more content like this in the future. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.